Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. It is 5 o'clock right now, and we are here for the regular trustee meeting. If you can join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have an agenda in front of us. Are there any additions or modifications?
None from staff.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Trustee Wallace?
Yes.
Trustee Crutz?
Yes. I'll make a motion to excuse Miss.
I'll make a motion to excuse Mrs. Dean.
Second.
Trustee Wallace?
Yes.
Trustee Crutz?
Yes.
Make a motion to accept the general ledger report in the amount of $388,058.15 for the 10/2/2024 payroll.
Second.
Trustee Wallace?
Yes.
Trustee Crutz?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to accept the payroll payment listing reports in the amount of $717,643.23 for warrants through September 19th, 2024.
Second.
Trustee Wallace?
Yes.
Trustee Crutz?
Yes.
We have minutes for September 16th special trustee meeting and September 23rd, 2024 regular trustee meeting. Were there any corrections or? If not, then I'll make a motion to accept both the September 16th and September 23rd trustee meetings.
Second.
Trustee Wallace?
Yes.
Trustee Crutz?
Yes. Okay. And at this time, then we have a special occasion that many of us are here for, the firefighter oath ceremony. Chief, all yours.
Good evening, Board. Thank you for your time this evening. As you mentioned, we do have one new firefighter we're asking the Board to swear in today. He has just completed his 3-week academy successfully, and we're very excited to get him out on the street and supporting the service and operations of the fire department. So without further ado, the position of firefighter is one rich in tradition, pride, and honor, not only in the fire service, but society as a whole. The firefighter is a role model and the person others turn to in time of crisis. Here in the Beavercreek Township Fire Department, we expect our firefighters to be among the best trained and highly proficient professionals, serving the members of our community with integrity, pride, and compassion. Our firefighters are most often the first impression we make as an organization. Therefore, we do not take lightly the responsibility we hold with a 25 to 30-year commitment to the community, fire department, or individual hired as a firefighter. It is my honor to present to the Board of the Township Trustees your newest firefighter who has demonstrated the knowledge, skills, and traits that exemplify the professionalism and pride of the Beavercreek Township Fire Department and our commitment to the citizens of Beavercreek. This evening, I am presenting firefighter Joshua Brandon Foss for his oath to the position of career firefighter. Firefighter Foss is from Defiance, Ohio. He went to fire school at Sinclair Community College around 3 years ago and is currently finishing up paramedic school at Sinclair this December. Outside of work, Brandon likes to be involved at his church, University Baptist, and traveling. One of his goals is to visit as many national parks as possible. This evening, I'd like you to swear in Mr. Firefighter Brandon Foss.
Great. Thank you. You want to join me? Is this your family with you?
It is.
Okay. I'm going to raise your right hand and repeat after me. So it's my honor to certify the hiring of Beavercreek Township Fire Department career firefighter Joshua Foss. Repeat after me. I, Joshua Foss,
I, Joshua Foss,
being duly sworn,
say
say that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and will faithfully discharge
the
duties of career firefighter
duty of career firefighter
of the Beavercreek Township Fire Department
of the Beavercreek Township Fire Department
of Greene County, Ohio.
of Greene County, Ohio.
Congratulations.
sign if you'd like to get paid. So you'll sign here and here. Okay. Congratulations, be safe.
I made all the motions. He's second to making motions.
Come on over here with your family first, and then we'll get the trustee this thing. Yeah, you guys want to get on either side? Thank you. Ready? We'll do a couple here real quick. 1, 2. Okay, and then we'll get the trustees to come in. Oh, Alex, maybe, okay. Yeah. All right, let's keep out 1 second. Okay, ready, 1, 2. Okay, thank you.
Be safe. Congratulations. Thanks for loaning them to us.
Thank you, Board. And with that, we'd like to invite anybody here celebrating with Mr. Foss to go upstairs and enjoy some refreshments, unless you'd like to attend the rest of the business meeting with the Board. You're always invited to do so.
Before
Thank
we
you.
leave, though, thank you firefighters and officers that you came to support Mr. Foss here. And these are your new family. So even though your family is here, this is your new family. Count on them. They're here to support you, be with you, have questions. They're here to ask, and they'll help and answer them for you. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we ask any citizens desiring to speak to please come up to the podium and address the board. Hi there.
Hello, good afternoon.
Just need your name and address, please.
I'm Chris Staub. I'm from the Haunted Classic soccer tournament that's going on this weekend. We've been working with the fire department now for 15 years. This is our 16th year. They send a medic out and they sit there the whole time for the tournament. You know, there's 10 to 30,000 people coming through that park this weekend alone, let alone 740 teams, $6 million impact to the area. And this year they sent us a bill for $1,600 or something for overtime. So I'm just here to ask for a waiver to get that $1,600 removed.
Okay, appreciate you asking that. We can take that under advisement essentially, and we can come back to you as far as, I have to know a little more detail about it as far as, just before I could make a recommendation.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, appreciate that, but appreciate what everybody does out there. I think we've demonstrated in the past with tent fees and things like that, that we support the effort.
Right.
And we recognize the social, the athletic, and the economic impact that it benefits the area, so we know that.
Okay.
So, appreciate it though.
Great. Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, Mr. Rushing, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Board. Move on to our monthly reports. First, we have our Greene County Sheriff's Office. I'll turn it over to Sergeant Kessel, who will bring any points of awareness and answer any questions you have.
Good evening, Board. Can you answer any questions that you might have?
Why was there $1,600 worth of overtime?
That's a good question. I'll have to get back
If you
to
can come back to us on that, that'd be great at the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. So,
That was for fire department.
It was from fire.
it was from fire, okay.
Right.
All right.
I'm happy to let him answer.
I knew that, it was a trick question. The only questions I had were, and you've explained this in the past, but for anyone from the public that might be reading the packet or looking at that information online, there's been, if it's seasonal or what the difference is between extra patrols as far as how they've dropped off, from 400s into the 70s in recent months. And then, similarly, the spikes and the ebb and flow that go with business checks, and how those either correlate or don't correlate, so.
It's tough with the monthly reports. Every month is different. I did also notice that there was a drop in certain call types, but also a raise in others. Having the guys focus more on traffic stops and impactful areas on the roadway. Also, the neighborhood patrols, you'll notice the NEPA is a new call type that was added as well.
Right.
So I'll continue to monitor
You're just
that.
kind of reshuffling what you might have referred to as one thing, you might be reclassifying it now.
That's something new that's more specific or targeted towards the neighborhoods and some of the theft issues we've had. You'll notice the difference with the NEPA calls.
Okay. As far as the recent accidents that we've had on 35, I don't know if you have any information on those, if those are, if there's a pattern, if there's no pattern, as far as what we were, I don't want to say promised, but told from ODOT obviously is that the new intersections, the super street, would reduce fatalities. That's not always within control, obviously. Sometimes the problems are self-induced by folks, but I don't know if these recent accidents or if there's a pattern yet or enough time to say if there's been an improvement, if there's a new type of problem, or the technology could help or anything like that.
What I've seen, looking at the crashes, improving crash reports on the SO end and passing off some crashes, of course, the serious crashes off to OSP. We have a serious issue still with distracted driving. A lot of the crashes we have are assured clear distance or rear end collisions. So for the most part, the injuries are down, the serious injuries are down, but we have seen an increase with the distracted driving crashes at the intersections.
Okay. One thing, I just wanted to point out and I don't know if I know when we have these meetings, we have joint meetings with the city, the schools, and the township, and this time we actually had one with all three of us, and it was a great meeting. If possible, if we do that again next year or in the future, I think there's a benefit to even having your department there, even though in this case, we were at the city. It's still a collaborative effort between the city, police, and the sheriff department. But just a point of awareness, I don't know if they make you aware of things, so, they're intending to shut down the bridge on Factory Road at 35. And it was a lengthy project. They're gonna replace that bridge. And so when that happens, obviously that is gonna divert traffic up Orchard and cause, and potentially Trayvine, but mostly probably Orchard.
Concerning the schools, there's really good information sharing, but could definitely be better as far as some of the projects.
Yeah, it might just be
getting
helpful,
around.
so, but, okay. Otherwise, I had no other questions unless Swallows had some.
Is it getting any better at Coy School, or is there more communication happening now with the school and?
The communication has definitely gotten better. Chris Williams, I'm sure you know him, he has been involved, he's been active. There's been better information sharing between the sheriff's office and the SROs, so they have a better idea of the SROs on what's going on with the students and staff when we are involved out there. So I would say yes, it definitely has gotten better.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Is there anything you need from us?
No, but I did want to mention that I'm hoping to set up a fourth quarter traffic blitz with Captain Ng. I think that's important to continue that presence in the township.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Captain Ing, who's the commander of the ACE Task Force, he'll be coming to the first meeting in November to give an annual report update to the trustees.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Board. And I move on to Human Resources. Ms. Sink is here to present her monthly report.
Good Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
I really don't have anything to add to what I've noted on my report. If you have any specific questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Looks like you were somewhat busy here. A lot of meetings.
They're keeping me hopping. And to be fair, I do note every meeting, so.
Well, that's good, though.
Even the pop-by ones, so.
From a software standpoint, did we make any determinations yet?
Yes, I am prepared to recommend UKG. I have met with Mr. Rushing and did a brief demo with him, and we wanted to chat some more about presenting that to you before we get it on the agenda.
Okay. And what would Paylocity replace?
Paylocity, those are just two comparisons, and I
Okay.
pretty much gave them the no-go
Okay,
the last time I talked to them, so.
okay. And from a payroll standpoint, are we still using the bridge in between as far as FMLA, calculating FMLA, or we're doing that in-house, or?
Yeah, FLISA calculations, so that's
Or
done by
FLSA,
OSL
yeah.
type KeyB. That's an import to VIP, which is the actual payroll processor.
Okay, yeah, FLSA, sorry. Okay. I had no other questions.
Fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. And I move on to Community Development. Introduce our Community Development Director, Andy Earhart. Do have some direction we are seeking tonight, and that is the topic, once again, of adult use marijuana. I'm happy to pull up any old slides or information from previous meetings, but we've now had several discussions, and with the timeline that we have, we need to know what to bring to the board for consideration and what to prepare. So we're just looking for some guidance on what, if anything, we want to pursue with adult use marijuana.
And so the discussion was to, right now, we have the moratorium in place through the end of January.
Correct.
And that's for adult use related essentially to, the categories are cultivation, dispensary, and then what are the other categories, testing or processing?
Laboratory testing, yes,
Yeah, okay. So cultivation and processing go together,
pretty
correct?
much, yes.
Yeah, because it's done in the same facility, generally speaking. So, Ms. Wallace, what are your thoughts?
I thought we had lifted the moratorium on the cultivation, and I thought we have only one spot that we had agreed on, no?
We have essentially what we have in place is we allowed at the Siebenthaler property, there was a 10-acre parcel that was carved out that we had said, ultimately, we didn't, the legislation, I don't believe, Ms. Frick, you can correct me if I'm wrong, did not specify which geographic location. We just said there could be one
Right.
cultivating and processing facility, but that was for medical.
Correct.
Medical.
So the moratorium that we have right now is on anything related to adult use.
They've changed up
So-
the terminology from medical marijuana to adult use cannabis.
Right.
So
And then
that kind of helps you differentiate between the two. We have the regulations on the medical marijuana, but now we're looking at the adult use cannabis.
And what
So
the,
I'm still in the same,
Excuse me.
I'm still in the same momentum I was in the meeting that we discussed it, which is I still would, based on the maps that you had showed on the industrial parks that could support a adult use store, so to speak, I'm still in favor of having at least one
as far
in
as
the township,
cultivation or dispensary?
in dispensary.
So,
As far as cultivation, I would probably lean towards the space that we already have near Siebenthaler.
right, and we did not stipulate it wouldn't have to be, essentially it could be
Which
any agricultural.
Right.
I think
Yes.
is what it fell into. Even though it'd be indoor grow, it would not be outdoor grow typically in this climate.
Well,
Right,
they're regulated to do that anyway. So.
And so, obviously, you're not looking, this is more direction, this is what you're
That's
looking for.
correct, yes,
This is
sir.
not, so, my opinion on it, in some ways matters and in some ways, doesn't, as far as my personal opinion. So as far as from a cultivation standpoint, I see no reason to increase the number of facilities because we don't have one yet. So there's no reason to say we could do two when we don't even have one knocking at the door. So my recommendation on that would be to stay with what we have. In which case, if we continue to permit medical, we by default then permit adult. One follows the other.
Correct.
So we cannot differentiate between the two because medical can now be sold as recreational.
Correct.
A lot
Or
of the
adult
adult
use.
use cannabis replaces a lot
Right.
of the medical marijuana.
It
work.
steps in its shoes. So if it's permitted as medical, it would be permitted as adult.
Correct.
So on the dispensary side, I went back to the November 2023 election when issue 2 was on the ballot. And I pulled the precincts from the unincorporated portion of the township. Because in this matter, we represent the unincorporated portion, not the city,
Absolutely.
not the incorporated. Whatever they do is within their purview. What this board does is for the unincorporated on this matter. And so I went precincts 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, and 54.73% of the votes were no against issue 2. And so my indication, regardless of, my tendency is to say, if it's permitted by law, then why wouldn't you permit that? But there's other things that we don't permit as well. When we get into adult entertainment or things like that, where we just don't want that in the community. But I think in this case, 54.73, this wasn't a 51 to 49 or a 50.5 to 49.5. It was 10% almost different in vote. And so my suggestion or recommendation would be on the dispensary side, to follow what the unincorporated residents said, which was no, they didn't want it. And so we can't stop it from being in Xenia or Xenia Township or Fairborn or Kettering or Beavercreek, but I wouldn't support dispensaries in Beavercreek Township. So I would not. So, but you don't have the third opinion to gauge that off of. So
I got 2/3 of what I need today, so.
there you
What
go.
we can do is
So I
next
think
meeting,
we're cogent on, as far as the cultivation side, I think we are in agreement there. To maintain what we have until someone asks for a second one. And then-
Understood.
But then on the dispensary side, that's my opinion. So is follow what people said. If it had been the inverse and I was opposed to marijuana dispensaries, I still would have went with what they said,
Understood.
so.
at next meeting, what we can do, we can bring forth 2 pieces of legislation. The most
That's what I would
restrictive
recommend.
first, which is to outright ban adult use dispensary. If that would have passed, then the second resolution would then be not needed. If that were not to pass, then we'll move on to discuss that resolution.
Yeah.
I think,
And both resolutions could have, you can do a separate, you're gonna do a separate one for cultivation and a separate for dispensary, or you're gonna package them together? I mean, I know we're in agreement, I don't know what Mrs. Dean, I
Well,
don't have
we can
no
discuss
idea.
that with legal and find out which is the best way to do that.
Come up
would
with
be.
options, that way we
Sure.
can,
do we have a time deadline on this?
January.
The moratorium is through the end of January.
Because I'm, wondering if we get, in November, we should have the resolution from Age Friendly, and we're allowed to have a survey. Because I think some of the people in the unincorporated area, if they were aware that there is a financial gain for the township that could stretch our taxpayer dollars and be more educated about that, I think that might change an opinion. And I would like to make sure people were educated about that process. Because if we have monies that come in from that, from a dispensary in the township, and that monies can directly offset EMS or something else that we can use it for, I think that might change people's opinion of tax dollars too. So I think education is important.
I think in November of 2023, we had a survey of 3,824 people, and 2,093 of them said no.
But we weren't talking about revenue production at that time.
They did. They didn't really say where it was gonna go or how it'd be administered.
Right.
That's the direction, at least I think you have for tonight. We can continue to debate it when it comes back
I'll
before
work
us.
with legal
Yeah.
and Mr. Rushing to bring some legislation next time, and we'll see
Okay.
where it goes from there. The only reason on that is we'll need to have some time to
Sure.
work in wording into our zoning.
That was the
resolution.
intent of accelerating the process, so
Yes.
at least you didn't have to do it January 15th.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
Yep.
Okay,
Other than that, we had a BZA case last month, that was denied. We have one tomorrow night, if you're interested in spending an evening with the BZA. And then zoning commission, well, that got moved to November, so.
okay.
And we did get the age grant, friendly grant applied for, so hopefully we'll be
It's on the
considered for that.
agenda for the November meeting.
Fantastic.
Great. I had no other questions,
I know.
so,
Thank
Board.
you.
thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to information technology. Paragon is here, represented by Mr. Fessler, so happy to bring him up to bring awareness items to us.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening. Good seeing you tonight.
Thank you. Are there any questions you'd like me to ask that may not be evident in the simple report?
I had none, other than if there's any, asking if there's any awareness items as far as unbudgeted things that might pop up between now and the end of the year or the first quarter of '25.
Yeah, at this time, we're not aware of any unbudgeted items coming up that you need to be aware of. There will be, we're working with Mr. Rushing to set a executive session to kind of do a cyber posture review here and then before the end of the year. I did want to thank you as a board for our past decision to make some investments into infrastructure. We did that a couple years ago. By doing that, that allowed us to have some redundancy in that infrastructure, and that actually benefited the township about 3 weeks ago when a critical piece of equipment failed. It failed over correctly, and that was able to be replaced under warranty, transparent to the organization. So thank you again for approving those requests. And then we do have the AV vendor here today. We know there's been some challenges in some of the technology. They've spent a considerable amount of time working with the manufacturer to try to flesh that out. So if there's any questions for them, we can provide them as well.
No, it's great when it works. And it works most of the time. It only works when you really need it. You only have failures when you really need it, so, but it generally works. As far as, where are we at, as far as with Paragon, with our contract with you? And
Yeah, the contract is now in an auto renew on a 1-year basis, so that'll come back up in January.
okay. And is there anything that we should be thinking of or we should be doing or that we could do to make our own costs lower or make the process more efficient? I mean,
Certainly. I'd envision in that particular session, we could probably go over some of that statistics and data on some potential changes we might recommend. We'll be working with Mr. Rushing to kind of provide a plan. Currently, we are still leveraging the time that we are here on a weekly basis to its basically maximum ability. By doing that, whenever we have projects, we are not charging additional labor because we're doing it in that on-site time. But what we're going to do is look at what we put together for the 2025 budget to determine and see if that still fits within that or if we need to pare that down some time. That would be an area we can get some savings.
okay,
Sounds like a good plan.
okay. That's all I had. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Now move on to our Finance Department. Ms. Molden's here to present her monthly report.
Good evening, Board. You've probably noticed the OSL date project on our projects for about a year. We finally finished that up. It took a lot of work on the part of Tori King, who works in my department. She went back in the minutes and found original dates of hire and recorded all that. So we made sure we have all the OSL dates correct. We worked with fire and roads on that, so it was a really good project, and that one's complete. I also wanted to thank Nicole in my department. She's been helping with payroll and making sure health, dental, medical, vision. I had her just look at those to see if she could get them paid, and she got them all reconciled and got them paid pretty quickly, so that was really helpful while Tori is out. And she's going to be attending the SSI conference next week for 3 days, so she'll be out of the office. And the largest project we have going on now is working on the budget and personnel budget for 2025.
You guys are busy,
We are,
but it's good to have that OSL project done.
yep.
Great. Anything that we can do to help your department or help you in this process?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I think we're good.
good. I like to have that on the record. Otherwise, thank
If I
you.
think of something, I'll let you know.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Board. Now move on to Public Service. And our Public Service Director, Mr. Tim Parks, is here to present some awareness items.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's been a busy couple of months.
It has been.
The library project's done. The HVAC here is done. So we're slowly transitioning to our fall preventive maintenance, which is mowing the roads one more time, sweeping the streets, and to begin our fall crack fill. So I'm answer any of your questions.
I want to know what the picture is of Linebaugh Road that's in your packet. There's a unique picture up there. I don't know if you can see it or not, so.
Yeah,
Is there something that you're pointing
Trees
out?
down.
Just trees down from the storm?
Yes,
Okay.
from the hurricane.
So storm damage, from township perspective, anything, learning points that we need to do as far as future or?
No, I
mean,
think,
based on what you went through with the tornado, obviously this was not of that scale, so.
I think part of what we're doing when we get to the winter time and trimming back trees and all that helps prevent a lot of the damage.
Yeah.
But some people are seeing that don't do that,
Sure,
so.
good. Interesting enough, so, Sugar Creek Township and then other townships are, looking at and adopting, the trees in the right of way and landscaping in the right of way, so that was, and in some ways, they actually took what we did and they expanded upon that to include all types of landscaping. So hopefully that, combined with your preventive maintenance, will help reduce that. Anything else as far as points of awareness related to cemetery or related to any of the other responsibilities of your department?
No, I think currently everything is running smoothly since we're, like I said, transitioning to, I call it fall maintenance, so.
Okay. And what are you gonna do with all your spare time after you retire?
Relax.
Just text John, pick to, so,
Yeah.
all right. Great, I had
he-
no other questions, though.
Yeah, he knows that if he has a question, pick up the phone and call or text me, so.
No, appreciate that.
Well, Mr. Parks, I've had several phone calls on people who are so happy with what you've done with the roads, on the trees and the library. Even though, you know, we paid for it, you guys kind of spearheaded that library project. And library people have called me and stopped me and said how beautiful it looks. And the fact that you guys were out there at, what, 5 or 6 in the morning when the tree went down at the library. And Carl had saw me the other night and said he couldn't believe that you guys were there when he was there cutting up that tree. And just a fantastic job on your whole department. And I just want to thank you. The citizens are aware of that and see you guys out there early in the morning, catching the hard jobs of getting rid of this stuff. And
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
Actually, they emailed us at 10:30 at night at the library. Now, of course, I usually don't answer emails at
10:30 at night.
10:30 at night. And Mr. Schroeder doesn't either. But we caught it, and they went and took care of the tree on Linebaugh, and then from there, they just directly went to the library, and it was cleaned up so that they could open, and things ran smooth.
Yeah, they just couldn't say enough about how great your team has worked. So I said, well, not us, but just want to make sure you knew that a lot of people are feeling great about your people and the work that they do.
Well, I'm proud of them.
I am too. Great job.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Board. And I move on to Fire Department. We have a couple of action items, and Chief Annabelle will walk us through.
Good evening.
Good
Thank you
evening.
again for making time for our swearing in at the beginning. That's always appreciated so the families and friends can get in and out. The next item we have for you is the acceptance of resignation. This was the second firefighter that was in the academy class, and based off the 3 weeks of the academy, he determined this was not really the job opportunity for him, so he turned in his resignation. So with the board's acceptance of that, we actually do have 3 people in the pipeline for later in November, one of whom would replace Mr. Leach, whose resignation you have before you, as well as the other 2 vacancies that we have.
I'll make a motion 202-41015-Fire-B to accept the resignation of probationary firefighter Gerald Leach effective October 15th, 2024. Gerald Leach is eligible for reemployment with Beavercreek Township.
Second,
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
yes. How many firefighters have we had that, it seems as though in the last 2 years, I don't remember this, like 5 years ago, where we were swearing firefighters in, and then they were determining within the first 6 months that it wasn't the career for them. So is it
This is relatively new to us as well. So as best I can tell, a lot of it has to do with just changing workforce. The approach and attitude that new members are coming in with is different. So back when we were volunteers and part-timers, the holy grail was to get the full-time job, and the intention was to stay for a full career. Now we have people come in and trying the career and determining it's not for them, or maybe the department is too busy or not busy enough, or too much EMS, or the workforce not only is more, I'll say, finicky. That's maybe a little too pejorative, but they definitely have they're more discerning in what they want to do, and they have more options available to them. So again, when we started, jobs were few and far between. Now departments are aggressively fighting for qualified candidates. And so if they don't like the color of the engine, or the color of the uniform, or the shift start time, they have options to go other places. And so we're just seeing a fair bit of that. I don't anticipate it changing in the near future. As a matter of fact, I think this is probably, to coin the term, the new normal, at least at this point in time. I don't know if Mrs. Sink has anything else to contribute to that.
It seems like a lot of training to go through to test drive, though.
Yes.
For a few months, and then, I don't know, are you seeing this in law enforcement?
Great description of what we're seeing as well.
So it's looking for a career change, going through the exercise of I've always said, for years now, I've said that taking real estate classes and getting a license as a realtor doesn't teach you how to do real estate business. There's so much missed in that education process, that people who come literally out of Hondros or any of these training schools for that licensing process, they know how to take the test, to pass the test and get the license, but they're not trained how to do the job. And so I'm curious, in your world, if they are not exposed to what real life is like as a firefighter or as a deputy, if that's part of if that's the missing piece. If you think back in school, they always, we talk about, why don't we teach our kids personal finance, and teach them how to balance, a checking account, and how to actually, do things or invest or things like that, or save for retirement. In your world, do they actually, when they come out of their training, I don't know if they've been through an apprenticeship, or have they spent a night or a weekend or a week in a firehouse?
For fire school, I don't believe there's any time required in any fire station, fire department, anywhere.
Yeah.
That could have changed, but I don't think so. Matter of fact, I'll look back. Okay. For EMS, so to become an EMT, it's not a small amount, but it's,
Right along, right?
yeah, there's some ride-along time. So there's exposure 8, 10, 12 hours at a time, a couple times, but probably not enough to get a good sense of what the career is. So yeah, a lot of these kids are really tasting it for the first time when they go through academy or they get put on shift. There's also, again, thinking back to some of our more recent folks who have started and left, they build relationships, again, with people at other departments. Maybe they went through fire school with somebody who got a job someplace else. And so there is some relationship building that happens that I think is drawn. But I really think in the end, it's a combination of opportunity, which is relatively new as far as how aggressive we are looking for other folks, and a workforce that's open to switching. They're definitely not tied down to a notion of, I want to work here.
The purpose of the probationary program essentially is just that. It's probationary for both sides.
That's correct.
It's not limited to just the incoming employee or the employer. So there's a benefit to that, but at least in private sector, turnover costs money, and in this world,
It costs us money as well.
costs money and time, and you just don't gain that momentum. You're constantly backfilling, and it's how fast can you spin forward before you slide back as far as staffing. So, okay, I'm just curious if there's anything that between your collective brain powers that you can influence the education or the training process to actually incorporate some type of, I don't want to say apprenticeship, but hey, go spend a week or 2 weeks in a department and live it to make sure before you go through this whole exercise.
To that point specifically, that's one of the reasons that we're championing the cadet program as much as we are, because we have long-term touches with those kids. So what do they get out of it? They get exposure to the career, they get exposure to the environment, to your point. They get good counseling from our folks about making good life decisions. The benefit that we get is we get to see them, we get to see the dedication, the interest, the ability, the attitude, and those sorts of things. So there's always, matter of fact, we have a kind of ideological debates on a regular basis at senior staff level in particular about the offsetting certification versus experience that we have with the cadet programs, which has more value. And in the end, it's a scale, right? So it's not one or the other, but when we can find the perfect candidate, we want to have the opportunity to have experience with them, which is what our part-time program used to do. So the cadet program, in a way, is a surrogate for that, to have that kind of long-term exposure to potential employees. And matter of fact, we're working right now to see if there's a way we can extend the cadet program to get the medic piece, because that's really the downside is most of the cadets, when they are eligible, they're eligible as an EMT basic, and paramedic is such a critical skill for us that we need to figure out a way to get cadets to be paramedics as well. And then we'll really have kind of the perfect solution for us. But it takes time. Yes, ma'am.
I mean, they kind of shadow sometimes when we have incidents and stuff, they shadow. Or when we have the training, I've been out there where they shadow the
Yes, ma'am.
firefighters.
Matter of fact, they have a 2-tier system now where the senior folks that have progressed far enough in the program are actually doing ride-alongs and spending time in the stations.
Do we have anything where they can stay overnight, like a night?
No, because of the age and some of those issues, it is
Okay.
strictly limited to daytime.
All right. It makes sense, yeah.
But again, if we can, we are looking for a way to potentially extend it past high school, which is really one of the big cutoffs, and into paramedics. And if we can make that bridge, that would open up some other possibilities, like you said, for having 24-hour shifts.
More real life
Absolutely.
experience where they can get a real feel of what it's like to be a firefighter.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Appreciate it. Did we pass a resolution?
No?
No.
Pass the motion. Or the motion, I'm sorry, thank you. Okay, I lost track of where we're at, I'm sorry.
You're up.
The next item we have for you, last night,
But do you need us to make a motion to accept that resignation?
We
did.
did,
Oh, I'm sorry,
we
that's-
did,
Okay.
we did
Okay.
that. I made the motion.
Yeah, we
We're
started
good.
talking and I
voted.
forgot.
We did vote.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, you're good.
Carry on.
So, last night Chief Easter and myself, were, in front of City Council to give them a couple updates, and we'd like to give you the same update. The first is, the fire department response to Hurricane Helena, whatever, however the pronunciation is. And for that, actually, I'd like to have Chief Easter, come up. He can give you or a firsthand account of the events of that evening, because as I want to recognize him tonight, he was coming in, was unable to make contact with the dispatchers because of the high call volume, and so took the initiative and actually went into dispatch center, and ended up dispatching for a number of hours in supporting the dispatchers directly. So that kind of initiative is much appreciated, and the skill set to be able to do it is extremely rare. So we want to thank Chief Easter for that, and then I'll turn him over to give you an idea of what happened that evening. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
So that Friday afternoon, we started getting a barrage of calls, and about 4:30, I came back into work, or I hadn't been at work during the day, but I came into work noticing that there was a high call volume. Had been in contact with the on-duty shift commander, and the conversation that we had was he was talking about being out of resources and what we needed to do because the storm wasn't over yet. And so we made the decision to issue a general recall to our staff, which we did have several staff respond in to assist, including Chief Hawker, who helped out managing some of the street aspects while we were dealing with the storm, along with Fire Marshal Grogan and several other staff. But I tried to make contact with dispatch on the radio as I was driving in, and she couldn't answer me. There was just too much going on, and rightfully so. She didn't need to answer my traffic. It wasn't emergent. So I decided to stop by dispatch and just see what situation was that they were dealing with, how many calls we had backlogged. But what I walked into was a center with two folks working into two dispatchers. Dispatcher Lena Brown and Lori McIntosh were both in there. Found out later that Lori had been working since 3 a.m. the previous day and was due to finish her shift, but was not going home anytime soon due to the call volume. And Alana had been just recently released, and this was her first solo shift as a dispatcher. In that perfect storm of events, Green Central Dispatch went down completely. They were unable to take 911 calls. Most of the 911 calls for Greene County were rolling to Beavercreek. So I walked into the center that was without power. They were in the dark. They were on generator and battery backup power. Constant barrage of telephone ringing, 911 calls that were coming in nonstop for not just Beavercreek City, but also the rest of the unincorporated area and, quite frankly, the rest of the county. And I was completely impressed and taken aback by how positive both ladies were. There was not a negative tone in their voice. They were happy to be there. They were happy to do their job. They were extremely pleasant, even in the stressful situation that they were dealing with. When we went back and looked at some of the numbers, I think Chief pointed out last night that this was our third highest call volume in recent history, third to Ike and the Memorial Day tornado. So this call volume was almost up to that level for us, along with the rest of the county call volume that they were getting barraged with. There was also no mutual aid to be had, so everybody was busy, not just us with call volume. We were able to work out a system, and I sat down at a dispatch console and let Dispatcher McIntosh take the brunt of the phone answering, put the basic information into CAD, and then I acted as the fire dispatcher and sent our crews on it. We stacked calls and triaged calls using our ProQA system, so we knew what we needed to respond first for and what we could stack and respond with other units later on, and we did that, and it worked well for us. From that standpoint, Carla came in early for her shift as well because of the high call volume and was able to sit down at the workstation I was working at and do a much more efficient job than I could do. So we thank her for that as well. And within a few hours after that changeover happened, we ended up with a structure fire. So we had our recalled crews still here. The call volume had started to die down, and we ended up with a structure fire that was storm-related. So we had recall staff that helped with that response, and we didn't need mutual aid because there was still no mutual aid to be had. But we also had a third dispatcher working that evening because of coming in early, which helped out tremendously to handle those emergencies. In addition to all of that, the automated dispatch system that we use that would have helped balance that load was actually down because the connection to Greene County went out when the power went out in Xenia. The courthouse end to that microwave connection that's owned by Greene County was inoperable, and it was inoperable until sometime on Saturday midday. So it was down for a significant amount of time, caused an additional work for the dispatchers to have to manually dispatch for that time period, in addition to the high call volume. The move to Tyler Cloud, unfortunately, hadn't happened before this storm. It is scheduled to happen November 19th. It's still on track for that, and that will change that dynamic for us. So we hope that that's going to create a new level of resiliency that we don't have. So there's two connections to the cloud, and the township has two disparate internet connections by virtue of planning and partnering with our IT providers to plan for that and implement that. So we hope for a higher level of resiliency with that in the future to make that cloud flip and not have that reliance on the connection between here and the county courthouse for that. We also were unable to use, because of that connection, our CAD mobile application. So the push-button responses in the vehicles were down because of that. The Tyler Cloud Flip will resolve that. But we also have the Crew Force component, which the board allowed us to purchase several years ago. And that piece worked because it is designed and works differently than our CAD mobile, but it is a suitable replacement for that. So we're exploring how we can better utilize that in the future, but we were able to get some of the crews to utilize the Crew Force application on their cell phones that evening and some of the township devices that evening. So we had a little bit of a self-healing topology from that standpoint, and we were successful and able to handle 70 calls for service in that 24-hour period. Our normal day is about a 20 call per service, or 20 call for service in a day, so significant increase. Any questions that you have? Be happy to answer.
Did you call the county and ask them to see if they wanted just to switch services over to Beavercreek City?
I did not. I stayed quiet in those meetings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, thank you.
Just another thought or two about that, and you hit one of those, which is there is a countywide push right now to go to a joint dispatch center. As Mr. Kretz and yourself and Mr. Rushing continually reiterate, what problem are we trying to solve? This clearly showed that we do not have a problem to be solved. And so our partnership with the city is an excellent strategic partnership. The service they provide is exceptional. The work that we have done over the years allowed us to maintain that level of service through that high call volume because of the groundwork and the support and everything else that's been done. And I would not want to give that up without some sort of assurance that there's a sufficient or improved replacement.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was good, and we do appreciate everything dispatch has done for us, so.
Did it, just by chance, did Greene County send any kind of resolution or award or thank you or call saying thanks for helping out?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, figured.
All right, unless there's any other questions, that was quite an interesting evening. So,
Thank you.
the next item I have, so we bragged about dispatch a little bit and the good job they did. This is our ability to brag about the fire department. So I was extremely happy to receive notification from ISO a couple weeks ago that our that used to be every 10-year, now it's just intermittent reclassification visit resulted in an improvement in our ISO score. This is moving from a Class 3 fire department to a Class 2 fire department. It is our first increase in score since 1997 when we moved from a Class 6 to a Class 3. It represents, it's an objective analysis of a fire department. So they don't care about EMS at all. This is strictly about our ability to provide fire protection. They have actuaries that have come in and created this system for analysis that they've been doing consistently. So it's a good longitudinal study that we can see since '97 how our scores have fluctuated and improved. And we do have some fluctuation. So we have improved overall and enough so to move up a class. But we have some areas where we did decline, and we have some plans, or we're working on plans now to fix that regression and get those back up to old numbers. And quite frankly, we have ISO 1 in our sights for the next one. It's a real possibility. It's not gonna be easy, and it's not a guarantee, but it's certainly within the realm of possibility. This is in large part due to the crews and the good job that they do, responding to calls, training. The lion's share of the score is about the fire department and how the fire department operates, our deployment, our staffing, our training, our equipment, and things that the board provides for us, so we want to thank you for that. The dispatch center is a key part of it, so they represent a portion of our score, and they are almost maxed out. So they had the smallest improvement, but they had the least to improve, because they're almost a perfect score in their own right. The water department declined a little bit, so we're continuing to work with them to try and get our hydrant testing program back where it needs to be to get maximum points there. And then community risk had a bit of a dip, and so we're working to see, I think that's a documentation issue, not a performance issue, so we'll continue to work on improving that. But the good news is, again, we moved from a class 3 to a class 2, which puts us in the top 8% in the state and about top 7% in the nation as far as fire departments, so we're very proud of that. The new rating goes into effect January 1st.
The tough part with that obviously is no different than private sector achieving excellence, and then maintaining it takes the same amount of effort.
Yes, sir.
If not more.
Yes, sir.
So, was there, do we have any information as far as, from either national insurance, either associations or anything of that, as far as what this means to insurance rates for folks that are within our district?
I have nothing concrete. I have some anecdotal information.
We've heard that, yeah.
Right, but-
Urban myth is that the better this rating is, the lower the insurance rates are. So I'm just curious if the insurance, industry has actually, they're putting numbers to that to prove.
Not to my knowledge.
I
The
can find
information.
out.
I'm sorry?
I can find out that.
Okay, that'd be great, because ISO tells us, but we don't have independent confirmation of that
Right.
or an idea of what the magnitude is. Now, anecdotally, again, what I've heard is that residential is not as significantly impacted as commercial. But in commercial, my understanding is they kind of grade in bands, but I don't know if going from a 3 to a 2 moves us in a band or if it's literally just class by class. So
Right.
there should be an expectation of improved rates, but I have no way of proving that. But if
It
you could,
also,
that'd be great.
I can find out.
just from historical reference, it also involved what was the saturation of, so if you had heavy manufacturing and you had a heavy saturation of that compared to if you were a farming community, you might see less of a, less of a positive impact. So, just curious, that's why, because we've always heard the rumor if we improve that rating, then it helps our insurance rates. Well, okay, then prove it.
Yeah,
It'd be interesting to prove, because everyone is feeling insurance rates have escalated.
Right.
yes.
And with what's going on in the south, the southern states now, that's not gonna improve. So,
Yeah, my plan is personally, I'm gonna call my insurance broker after the first of the year and
let
just say,
them
hey,
know.
what does this get me? And so if, I'll let you know what I find out with that,
Yeah.
but I would be curious if you have contacts
talk to
more
some
agency
underwriters.
or industry-wide, that'd be very interesting to hear.
Okay, I'll get back to you.
That'd be great, thank you.
Because if it does, then I want to get that in speakeasy language. We can put in touch, because this
That
will
would
be
be
a good,
excellent.
good
Yeah,
piece to put
talk to your
in
insurance
touch.
agent type thing, yeah.
Well, I'll get some
No,
stuff
no.
from the underwriters first to see if it makes a difference. But
Right.
still, we still need to put this in the in touch no matter what. But if it does decrease the rates, we'll make sure we have it in the in touch.
That's what I'm saying, as far as tell
at some facts.
residents to talk to their insurance
Right.
agent and ask for a discount or whatever applies. Okay.
Yes,
But
sir.
great job.
Thank you very much, we're very proud of it. And with that, I think the rest of our packet is our standard monthly report. The big news, obviously, is Popcorn Festival. We had another successful year, although I'm afraid that Public Service may have showed us up a little bit with the vests. So we're working on a plan to counter that for next year. But yeah, it was great turnout, beautiful weather, had a lot of support. Our folks were out and engaged, so it's a great opportunity to be out there and see the community. So we appreciate the opportunity to be there.
Yep, nice job.
And you guys did a great job at Tri-Truck.
Oh, thank you very much.
There was, I think we had a great bunch of people. The volume was nice and high, and the kids loved shooting the fire hose and going through the tunnel, and everybody had a good time. I think everybody had a good time. And the kids loved the fire hats. Everybody was wearing a fire hat.
Yep, they had their hat and their vest.
Yeah,
So
so they were all decked out, so
we're gonna find a way to put a badge on those vests. And then
there you
we'll
go.
Be all set. All right. Is this for me?
Mr. Grogan,
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Little Miami River cleanup update.
Just something real quick about the open house. We try to, it's so difficult to gauge how many people we have come in. We try to gauge it off how many helmets we have and then just kind of taking a scientific guess of how many kids or adults per kids and everything like that. So we gave out over 275 helmets. So we think we probably have 800 or 900 people at least up there.
There was a lot.
Visiting the open house.
A lot of people tasted the chili.
Yeah, it was good. Good
I
round.
ran a picture of the crowd through one of those campaign people counters. It looked like there was 100,000 people there. So.
Thank you very much. Can we put that in? No. So I was asked to kind of continue a few other things, including supervising or just giving you guys an update on the river cleanup. So try to put together a little graphic description of where they've been and where they were at as of October 2nd, and try to put some kind of an idea of picture related of what they've done so far, including a couple weeks in September that they were out. And zoom out a little bit to that so you can see the whole picture, and try to give some explanation of the date range that they were, where they were in that specific date range. The photos basically come from the confluence of the Little Miami and the Oxbow all the way to upriver to October 2nd where they were. So if you kind of scroll down a little bit in comparison, that's the river cleaned up in the main channel. A couple of them, again, tried to give a description of where we were at, looking in a specific direction. But if you continue to go, it kind of shows where the debris was as of October 2nd and what they were working on specifically. So you see a clean river versus a very clogged up river. So haven't had an update from them yet because of open house preparation and everything like that, but intending on getting out hopefully tomorrow or Thursday, weather depending, and see how much further they've gotten down. Just try to show an indication of how they're working on that. So if you scroll back up to the map, it's pretty interesting. Again, similar to what they did at the Oxbow a couple years ago. They actually take some of this debris, stage it up on the banks, and then secure it naturally.
Right.
And then it helps to form the river and the flooding as it continues down. So they're progressing, and I'll have some updates further at the next trustees meeting, and I think the intention was for them to come in and do a presentation when they're all said and
Oh,
done.
good.
It was not a bad walk. Their staging is actually at one of the sanitary engineering's main well field pumps down there. It was not a bad walk out to the site. So if that's an interest by the board, we could probably even do that, to walk out to where they cleaned it up. So just let me know.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll get that.
Yeah,
Sure.
that would be
Any
interesting.
questions in regards to that?
So the debris that they do not use, where are they taking that, and what do they do with it?
The trash debris they pick up,
Right.
they actually put in trash bags. The wood debris, most of that stuff, they will
Is
actually
actually
bank,
repurposed.
enclose
I
in
knew they were
in
using a
larger
lot of it.
debris.
I didn't know if they could use all of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Good.
So those are some of the pictures.
Thank you.
Thank you, board. That's all I have.
Okay. Ms. Frick.
I have nothing today.
Okay. Mr. Zaharian.
Yeah, Senior Board, some good news. We have to update our certified additional revenue to the Budget Commission. You see that we have some additional revenue in the general fund due to some interest, the EMS fund due to increased collections, and then the opioid, and then interest earned in the capital improvement fund. You can pass it as presented.
Nice.
Great.
Okay. I'll make a motion. Resolution number 20241015-FIN-A to certify additional revenue to the official certificate of available resources and to increase annual appropriations for funds 1,000, 2281, 2907, and 4301 as presented.
Second,
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
yes,
Thank you. That's all I have, Board.
thank you. MVRPC,
I briefed Mr. Rushing the day after we had the meeting. There was a lot of things that were going on the agenda, so I made sure Mr. Rushing had information to act on it as quickly as possible. I attended for the National Association of Regional Commissioners, an event on last Sunday and Monday to support Mr. Martin as first vice president. And so things are moving along and money is flowing down from the federal government on different avenues of emissions. And so Mr. Rushing has all the information and is moving on that.
TAC Advisory,
Last month's agenda is in your packet. I have another TAC meeting, Thursday.
okay. Any awareness items?
Not really.
Okay.
Pretty standard items.
Thank you. Opioid Regional Task Force,
Since we've decided on the monies, they're debating whether we need another meeting this month. So I'm not sure if we'll have one or not.
okay. Greene County Regional Planning, we actually had executive committee today. We have the full commission next Tuesday evening. It was interesting, so Bath Township actually is going through the same process on adult use cannabis and is leaning towards approving both dispensary and cultivation. We did have a zoning text amendment for Beavercreek Township go through. It actually did not pass. So it was a tie vote. I obviously abstained. So it'll be coming to the zoning commission with a recommendation for denial because it ended up in a tie vote as far as yeses and nos. And it was more related to shedding some light on historical reference of that site and the at least portrayal in the past by the previous owner, Ohio University, that there were some covenants or restrictions either on the deed or in the donation from the Russ family to OU that tied that property to forever be a research and development campus. And so I had brought that up that it wasn't that it was a no or yes, but you might want to check your deed. It's not something the township or the county can help you with. And their attorney was present for that, so he was completely unaware of that concept, that it existed. And so that triggered one of the individuals that voted no. The other one that voted no was leaning towards wanting to see that preserved, and it's what it was originally donated for, which was to be an R&D campus and not open it up to service retail, and to fast food and to automotive repair shops and daycares and things like that. So part of the regional planning's presentation outlined all of the development or potential of development around that site, as far as Walnut Ridge and as far as River Reserve, what's going on with that, but then also the school. They had omitted conversation about the commercial corner, and so I refreshed everyone, at least at that meeting, as far as what we did as a board a couple of years ago when OU came in and asked for specific uses. Some of them we felt were too high of an impact, and I explained why, and at the time, and told them if there's a high school there, then come back. It might change, but today, those uses should not be part of that. So they have essentially a number of questions. They were armed with a number of questions that they would be asked if that ever made its way to the trustees, so that they could at least answer them in advance of the zoning commission and be able to go into those with those questions answered. So.
Joe.
Health Department
No
We
report.
have anything? Okay. And then school superintendent, city manager,
No report.
okay. Wastewater, county water committee, nothing
No
there.
report, but Mr. Chandler, the director of sanitary engineering, will be at our next trustee meeting in 2 weeks. Talk about the update to the water softening effort from Greene County.
Okay. An investment over, I'm sorry, Greene County Township Association?
We had a meeting last Tuesday that State Rep Lampton and Senator Bob Hackett hosted and gave information. The next meeting is November 12th at 6:30. The library, Carl Cologne will be hosting that meeting and showing some of the new library.
Okay. Mr. Rushing, when is, I don't know if you know this, or Ms. Frick, if you know it, or Mr. Zahari, Senator Hackett's term expires when exactly?
It's the end of the year.
End of this year.
End of
12/31?
December 31st.
I didn't know if it was a January 1 or 3 or 4 or 5, so it's.
I don't
December.
know if the state constitution prescribes a specific date, but essentially the end of the
I
calendar
thought they
year.
overlapped for some reason, so I didn't think they all had the same day. It just, he's provided obvious contribution in his service to the state and to this region, and specifically our county and Beavercreek Township. He's present at everything, so he's there, he's participant, and he's, haven't always agreed on everything, but at the end of the day, he appears to have done everything he could for the betterment of our region, so it'd be nice to see, and I'm confident he'll be laden with a number of resolutions and things like that, but it'd be nice to have some recognition from Beavercreek Township in appreciation of what he's done for, at least for our residents. So, just to keep in mind. And it'd be nice to present it to him here if we have that opportunity before he goes off into retirement.
Will do.
Good idea.
Investment Oversight Committee, I had nothing. I did see an email that came in from Mr. Eric Henry acknowledging that he is no longer a resident of Beavercreek Township. He's a resident of Bath Township. And so the search continues for a citizen at large to fill that seat. Otherwise, we're still, as you can, from the resolutions we passed, we're still seeing the benefits of the investments that we've made.
We're still trying to.
And we've recovered from the damage that was done before Mr. Rushing came in as fiscal officer.
Yeah, we're trying to get just a pre-meeting before one of the trustee meetings where we can just meet with the committee once again and go over the proposals.
Sure.
So,
The next meeting, if you want to try to aim for that.
Yeah,
So
that's fine.
I can do that. As far as 911 advisory, is there anything that you want to update us on, Chief Easter?
It's October 30th at 9 a.m. at the County Commissioners Conference Room.
Okay. I think that's already on my schedule, but nothing in the interim as far as, no updates or anything? Okay, all right. Very good. Is there anything else to come before the board? If not, I would like to publicly acknowledge Mr. Rushing. I think Ms. Wallace would agree with me as far as what Mr. Rushing has demonstrated as far as commitment to his trade, commitment to the township, commitment to the staff, and commitment to the residents. And as far as the continuing education that he's put himself through and certifications. So it takes time away from other things you could be doing. Probably not as much fun, but nothing
There's
like
debate on that.
managerial accounting to keep you up at night. But it's appreciated, it's recognized, and I think as a board, and Mrs. Dean would say the same thing if she were here this evening, we appreciate it. And it's recognized, it's acknowledged. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Chief?